So glad watching another episode, watching another video. I wanted to take this time to encourage you guys on a lot of stuff pertaining to our walk with Jesus. And I have a few things to say. I have a few things to talk about on this specific um, video for today. A lot of people, when it comes to following Jesus and being obedient to what Christ has called us to, and also what He has given us to be obedient to, we forget that our calling is not just for us, but it's for those that we're meant to touch, we're meant to impact. When you think about specifically, there's many stories that we can come up from or come with in teaching pertaining to the Bible. But when you look at the book of Jonah and you look at Jonah, because of his disobedience, there was ramifications. There was a law of cause and effect that was affecting other people because his disobedience and his unwillingness to follow what God was telling him to do. And some of you guys already know the story with Jonah, but long story short, he came to find out that the people that were being affected because of his disobedience. So I'm reminded with myself, and I make this video to remind you um, that we shouldn't give up on the calling that God has given us. We shouldn't give up on the things that God has been telling us to do and showing us and presenting to us as we spend time with them of our own individual calling. Now, your calling does. Um, I got some crust, so I'm trying to get that off my lips. But your calling it involves other people. Your calling is not just your own. If anything, it's the calling that God has picked out for you. But are you walking in obedience to that? Are you walking in such a way where um, uh, you know for a fact that God is calling you out to walk worthy of the calling of God upon your life, to walk in such a way where you're being a light to those that are in darkness, to bring the gospel to those that have never heard it. And I'm reminded that the calling of God upon our life individually, it's been handpicked, like I said, um, for us to walk in. There's good works for us to do while we're on the earth for the kingdom of God. And many people live their life as Christians selfish. You know, I started to realize even when I was on a run, I had the mask on again, and I was trying to breathe and all this stuff. And I realized in some aspects that I was selfish, that I did not thank God for the air that I was receiving. I wasn't grateful for the air, the oxygen that I had to breathe even without the mask. So I realized that when I had the mask on, that I was very ungrateful for the breath that I intake, that I breathe in. And it made me realize, you guys, that we should be thankful. We should be grateful. No, we may not be at the place we would hope to be. Maybe we've done some things that we wish we should have never done. But oftentimes we get discouraged and we get ungrateful when it comes to the reality of what Christ has given us, what God has given us. Many people are upset at the calling that they've received. Some people get jealous because of someone else's calling. Um, but I just wanted to make this video for you to be encouraged to not be in a place where you're ungrateful of the calling and you despise your own calling, or maybe you want to give up on the call of God upon your life. Maybe you don't want to continue to walk faithful to God and what He's called you to do. Maybe you get down on yourself because you feel like you're inadequate of what God has been calling you to do. Maybe you feel like there's not enough people to support you in what God has called you to do. But I wanted to remind you that the calling of God that you have received from God, it's not only for you, but it's also for other people. So I oftentimes ask myself, if I don't go out and preach, if I don't make these videos on YouTube, if I don't do the things that I know that God has called me to do, who's going to be affected by my disobedience? Who was I supposed to impact 2 years ago, on the basis of me, where I should have been obedient, but I wasn't, right? Like our obedience, the things that we kind of see from our natural eye, we feel like it's insignificant or it doesn't matter, or we look through the our eyes through the natural instead of looking through the supernatural. And oftentimes we miss opportunities when God wanted us to actually do something in the moment at that given time. And so, I think we forget the importance of obedience and not giving up on what God has called us to, because we all have these desires. We have this design that God has given us. We have these gifts. We have these talents inside of us to do all these different types of things for God and His kingdom. But yet, there's some people that are disobedient. There's some people that are willing to give up on what God has called them to do. There's still more YouTubers that we have never heard of, that we have never seen, because many are being disobedient. And I once was one of those, but not anymore. I want to be obedient to the call of God in my life, because whether things work out in my life, or whether certain things that I desire, if I don't get them, will I still serve Him? Will I still serve God 10 years from now if two people are viewing my videos? Will I still serve God even when things don't go my way? Will I still be obedient even if I'm homeless? Will I still be obedient, um, if my ministry doesn't go in a certain way that I want it to go? Will I still be obedient to the call of God on my life? Those are challenging questions that I have to ask myself and examine myself, and confront myself about certain things pertaining to the faith, pertaining to my calling. And so I realize that more and more and more, because of my disobedience, or because of my obedience, it blesses other people. I'm supposed to reach the people that God has called me to reach. And so, um, these are some of the things that I wanted to present to you guys about being faithful, available, disciplined, and having that willing heart to walk in the call of God for your life. And not only in this life, but the next life. For eternity starts now, but in sake for the sake of heaven, it's like, will I cast crowns at my Father's feet? Will I cast crowns at Jesus's feet when I stand before Him and give an account for my life? You know, so these are some of the things that we should be thinking about, and looking from that perspective of eternity, and being obedient to what God has called us to. So just be encouraged, fam. Whatever you may be going through, I don't know what you guys are going through, but I definitely want to start going live every Sunday. I definitely want to make that as a plan. So tune in every Sunday around 6 p.m. Central Time. And I definitely want to take that time to go live to talk about things. Definitely pray for people as well. I want to continue to make more content like never before, as you guys are seeing the videos I'm dropping. And so, thank you for tuning in, watching my journey, blessing me by commenting and letting me know how God is working through me to help you out in any way that God sees fit. And so, He gets all the glory. But if this video has impacted you in any way, please share it with other people, like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell. So whenever I go live or drop a video, you get notified, because I will be doing that even more so. So